Brandon, and I want to talk a little bit about why I got started so early with my campaign for mayor of my hometown, the city of Brighton, Alabama. Okay, so I've shared with so many people over time, the story about I went to Howard University, came back to Birmingham. I lived in Hoover for a little while with a girl that I thought I was going to marry, and we had our life together there, and it was an exciting thing. But of course, that relationship didn't end up working out, and I was in a position where I wanted to sort of start over. And so I took a new job, regional responsibilities in Birmingham and Atlanta, and found myself spending a whole lot more time back at home where I grew up in Brighton when I wasn't working in Atlanta. And what I discovered about Brighton, what I saw going on in that city, resembled something that was very much unlike what I grew up seeing every day. Crime had increased significantly. The dilapidation of private and residential and business structures was overwhelming, and of course the poverty was synonymous with that blight as well. And I felt compelled to want to do something about it. So I started this conversation about who would be able to lead our city in the right direction. Um, at the end of this current administration, feeling, of course, that this administration had not met what seemed to be the needs of the community in a way that would allow them to progress and have some sustainable growth. And so I started talking about it, started asking people about it, what do they think? Trying to think, well, what about this person? And it occurred to me after talking to about a dozen people, uh, trying to get them to think about running or trying to get them to consider finding someone. And they all pointed back to me. It then occurred to me that I did have a responsibility. But not just to run for mayor, not just to win an election, but I had a real responsibility to understand my people. Not a responsibility to get them to understand me, but a responsibility to understand them. What were they passionate about? What were they mindful of? But more importantly, which I think is a responsibility that we often avoid in public life, is trying to heighten the expectations we have for our people. I know that the city of Brighton, just as is the case with a number of minority, majority, low income communities, we have some of the highest rates of illiteracy, of people who dropped out of high school and did not complete or even start a college education. And so I knew that um, that would take a great deal on my part in trying to empathize and trying to understand. But it's necessary, and it still remains that way. And so I said, well, if I'm gonna think about running for mayor, which at that time, for a long time, it was really just a thought because, mind you, I had just ended a very tumultuous relationship that felt like a divorce. Financially, I wasn't suited to take on something so extraordinary, and at 23, there were some other things that I thought I might want to do for myself. And so I took off. I said, well, I'll have a town hall and I'll see if people are really, really serious about this, then maybe I'll keep moving forward. And so I had the town hall, and we're going to have just a general conversation about things that were important to the people of this city. And I had it at McDonald's because there was not a community center or a large venue that I could host it at in the city, so we had to have it at McDonald's. And as I was pulling up to the McDonald's, um, I remember distinctly. I was very much so just freshly out of this relationship, and there, I think I was reading a text message, and tears were welling up in my eyes, and I thought, okay, well, look, Brandon, if you're going to commit to something like this, if these people want you to do this, you have to commit right now. Either you're all in or you're all out. In that, if you can't move on from what it is that brought you to this place, then you're not ready. And I said, so it's either There's no crying on the outside or crying on the inside. It's sucking it up, being a man, getting out here and taking on what you are talking about. And so at that moment, I wiped my eyes for the final time, and I got out of my car, and no one in the car knew that this was going on. I got out of my car. I looked around, and I saw about 15 people standing outside smoking cigarettes, waiting on the town hall to start. And when I saw all these people on the outside, and then I saw like 50 more people inside, I thought, oh. So I looked at one of the ladies. I said, hey, you realize I'm the only person that's coming to this. There's nobody else, no celebrity, no big politician. And she said, oh, yeah, we know. She said, but we want this. And I knew then that I had to do something. So we got into the town hall. And again, I was so surprised. Like 70 people showed up for this town hall to hear me talk about my ideas and how I felt I could impact the people of this community. And from there, it has continued to grow. The next town hall, we had 60 people. I was featured on the front page of the Birmingham News. I've been on every major media outlet in the Birmingham metro area. I've gotten support both financially and folks on the ground from all over the country. And so it's been an incredible experience. But the original point about me starting early, it is important in our political discourse, particularly where we are today, where you see stark differences in what is being delivered for people of color in this country from the political apparatus and everybody else. It is important that we have public servants that are committed to transparency and empathy and seriousness about what they're doing as it relates to disadvantaged communities. More often than not, which has been the case in Brighton, we see campaigns that start, the election is in August, the campaigns will kick off in June. So you've got 2 months to expect a candidate to be forthright with the entire community about their intentions and their ability to deliver on those intentions in such a short window of time. That is not realistic. So it's me starting early, which when we started this in April, we had 16 months until election day. By the time this is over, we would have been on the ground for 16 months. And now we've got 8 months left until the August election. Starting early gave the public a real chance to get to know me, to figure out what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were as a candidate, as a public servant, what my ideas were, and how when you look at those ideas microscopically, how they may or may not add up. And that was important to me, and of course remains important to me. And I think as a result of that, when we go out now, I am so at ease and so comfortable with engaging all spectrums of this community, because I know that me as an individual and my organization, Team Brandon, we have done our diligence in letting people know where we're coming from, and also stressing and emphasizing that it's important to us to know who they are and what their priorities are. You know, the things that people talk to me about, of course, renewing our natural water resources, making those places that we can frequent as tourist destinations, as recreation. They talk to me about overgrown lots and burned and dilapidated houses in the community that are an eyesore. One of the most impressionable things that I hear from people age 5 to 95 is the need for a library in our community, which of course goes back to that need to increase literacy in our communities, because when people can read and access information, it puts the community as a whole, every function of that community, in a better position to succeed, because you can't expect people to think with information they can't obtain. And that is the danger of illiteracy. That is the danger of dropping out of school. That is the danger of disconnecting people from institutions of power where they could, of course, gain knowledge and experience. So we started early because I wanted people to know who I am. And so that's where we are right now, continuing for the next 8 months to let the people of this city know exactly who I am. And now the 4 council candidates who are going to run with me to lead this city, they'll spend this time letting folks know who they are and what they are about. And again, more importantly, getting to know the people of this city for who they are, the values that they hold true to. This is just the first of many recordings that I want to do to engage with the community in a very interactive fashion. The quality of these will probably increase over time as our budget increases, but right now I think it's most important to just get started. So I hope you like it. I hope the viewership for this is pretty high, and I look forward to continuing this conversation. You all have a great afternoon, and may the force be with you.